Epstein expected to be unveiled this week with specific names of dozens of his alleged associates, according to an...
And then Trump says something else into Epstein's...
Accused sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein is dead.
Why do you think Epstein had that giant painting of Bill Clinton in a dress?
One mystery is this white and blue striped building that looks like
Jeffrey
a temple.
Epstein appeared to threaten Bill Gates over Microsoft co-founder's affair with a Russian bridge player. So a lot of interesting characters.
Now, one name that is expected is former President Bill Clinton. Clinton has acknowledged he used Epstein's jumbo jet for trips overseas for his humanitarian efforts, but he denies he did anything wrong, and court documents back up the former president.
NBC has uncovered archive footage of Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein partying together at Mar-a-Lago back in 1992.
A little tough, I just need to feel like the end's in sight for me. But let's be real anxiety can foggy all this stuff.
Accused sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein is dead. Officials say the disgraced financier died by suicide.
Officials say multimillionaire Jeffrey Epstein has taken his own life in a New York jail.
Yeah, Epstein pleaded not guilty in
July. There was the charges of trafficking dozens of underage girls, some as young as 14 years old, forcing them to have sex with his powerful friends. And joining us now is CNN legal analyst.
On August 10th, 2019, Jeffrey Epstein was found dead in his cell. His death was officially ruled a suicide, but many people doubted the official account and suspected foul play, as there were several irregularities and failures in the prison's security and protocol. His death sparked numerous conspiracy theories, as well as public outrage and demand for justice for his victims and accountability for his accomplices. Jeffrey Epstein was a wealthy and influential financier who had connections to powerful people around the world. He was also a serial sex offender who abused and exploited many women and girls, some as young as 14. He used his money and influence to evade justice for his crimes for many years. Epstein's crimes came to light in 2005 when a mother reported to the police that he had molested her 14-year-old daughter. The police launched an investigation and found evidence of a large-scale sex trafficking operation involving Epstein and his accomplices. They identified at least 36 girls who had been abused by Epstein. He received a lenient sentence of 18 months in jail, of which he served only 13 months, with generous work release privileges. He also agreed to register as a sex offender and pay compensation to some of his victims. In 2019, he was arrested again on federal charges of sex trafficking of minors in Florida and New York based on new evidence and testimonies. He faced up to 45 years in prison if convicted. He was held at the Metropolitan Correctional Center in Manhattan, where he was found injured in his cell on July 23, 2019, in an apparent suicide attempt. He was placed on suicide watch but was later taken off. Epstein's death did not end the investigation into his crimes and associates, as several civil lawsuits and criminal cases continued. One of his closest associates, Ghislaine Maxwell, was arrested in 2020 and charged with helping Epstein recruit, groom, and abuse girls. She was convicted in 2021 on 5 counts of sex trafficking and conspiracy and was sentenced to 20 years in prison.
Jeffrey Epstein expected to be unveiled this week with specific names of dozens of his alleged associates, according to a new report that includes former President Bill Clinton.
New reports say former President Bill Clinton is going to be identified as one of several John Does named in previously redacted documents related to convicted pedophile Jeffrey Epstein.
On December 18, 2023, federal judge Loretta Preska made a ruling to unseal documents related to Virginia Giuffre's settled defamation lawsuit against Ghislaine Maxwell from 2015. The sealed documents were slated for release starting January 1st, 2024. Recently, on January 3rd, the district executive for the Southern District of New York informed CNBC that the unsealing process had commenced. Judge Preska's ruling on December 18th included a decision to disclose the names of numerous individuals referred to as John or Jane Doe in court documents who are associated with Epstein. These names will become public once the documents are unsealed. Jeffrey is among the women who filed a lawsuit against Epstein for alleged abuse across his properties in Florida, New York, the United States Virgin Islands, and New Mexico. She stated she felt pressured to engage in sexual activities with men within Epstein's social circle. Recently, the court unsealed additional documents spanning from 2019 to 2022. A judge in a 50-page document mandated that approximately 180 individuals identified under pseudonyms have their identities revealed within 14 days. Some of these individuals have opposed the public disclosure of their identities. Newly opened documents this Wednesday shed light on sexual assault claims involving the British royal. Johanna Sjoberg, among the numerous women accusing Epstein of sexual misconduct, mentioned an incident in Epstein's Manhattan townhouse in 2001 where Andrew allegedly placed his hand on her breast. During this moment, a photo was being taken with Sjoberg, Jeffrey, and Andrew. Maxwell and Epstein were also present, with the photo featuring a puppet labeled Prince Andrew, as recalled by Sjoberg. This incident, previously reported by various media outlets and denied by Andrew, emerged from a set of initial documents that were redacted, offering limited new insights into Epstein's purported sex trafficking operations. Maxwell recruited Sjoberg, initially hired as a 20-year-old assistant, but quickly converted into a massage therapist. She faced sexual coercion while working for Maxwell and Epstein between 2001 and 2006, marking their transition from former romantic partners in the early 90s to collaborators in alleged sex crimes for nearly 30 years. Jeffrey, who's 38 now, accused Andrew of sexually abusing her when she was 17 about 2 decades ago. The prince dismissed the claim as unfounded, and the case got sorted out in 2022. Sjoberg, according to the papers, mentioned seeing Jeffrey, then 17, at Epstein's place in New York, along with Andrew, Epstein, and Maxwell. She also expressed her belief in Jeffrey's statements about Andrew and Epstein engaging in abusive behavior towards her.
There was only one story dominating the news this week.
But you were staying at the house of a convicted sex offender.
It was a convenient place to stay.
It was in New York! Were all the hotels booked? Just Plaza? No. Marriott? No. What's this? Spare bedroom run a nonce's house? Don't mind if I do. It gets madder. Andrew claimed he only stayed with Epstein to tell him they could no longer be friends. But he then stayed round his house for the next 4 days. How does that work? We cannot be friends. Andrew was also accused of having sex with a 17-year-old girl. Look at the bizarre reason he claims he never met her.
She described dancing with you and you profusely sweating, and that she went on to have bath, possibly.
There's a slight problem with the sweating because I have a peculiar medical condition, which is that I don't sweat, or I didn't sweat at the time, and that was actually yes, I didn't sweat at the time because I had suffered what I would describe as an overdose of adrenaline in the Falklands War when I was shot at, and I simply it was almost impossible for me to sweat.
Can't sweat. I bet the Queen was like, "What the f*** is he doing? Philip, are you getting this? Does he can't? My son's an absolute moron."
Alan Dershowitz, a prominent figure in U.S. criminal law, is known for his work at Harvard Law School. Documents related to him involve accusations from an unnamed woman referred to as Jane Doe 3. Jane Doe 3 reported that Epstein insisted she engage in sexual encounters with Dershowitz while she was underage. Moreover, Dershowitz played a significant role in negotiating an agreement that provided immunity from federal prosecution in the Southern District of Florida, not only for Epstein, but also for any potential co-conspirators, according to the documents. Juana Lessie, Epstein's housekeeper, testified that Dershowitz frequently visited Epstein's Florida mansion for massages. Alfredo Rodriguez, another household employee of Epstein, mentioned that the lawyer would be at Epstein's residence without his family and in the company of girls. Dershowitz said in an interview with Fox News on Wednesday that Jane Doe 3 misidentified him and he denied ever meeting her. He suggested he was the victim of the Me Too movement's hypocrisy, accusing radical feminists of focusing on Epstein.
I was frequently with Epstein as a client. Also, I was falsely accused by a woman who eventually admitted that she may have confused me with somebody else, may have been a case of mistaken identification. But as far as I can tell, and I haven't read every word, the recently released papers just include the accusation against me without the statement by the woman that she now realizes that she may have misidentified me. So I'm hoping that all of the information will come out. I have nothing to hide. That's why I was one of those who pushed right from the beginning to have every document revealed.
So to clarify, so the Jane Doe Free, we're talking about Virginia Giuffre, who has been quite publicly accusing several people, but very high-profile victim in the case. Is she the Jane Doe 3 who's allegedly forced to have sexual relations with you, according to the court documents? Is that essentially Virginia Giuffre? I mean, I'm trying to get some sense as to clarifying what's in here and what's not.
I assume so. That's the accusation. She originally accused me of having sex with her, and then she admitted that she may have confused me with someone else. And
Jean-Luc Brunel, a French model scout, faced charges of raping underage girls and was awaiting trial when he died by suicide in a Paris jail in 2022. Giuffre was one of the women who accused Brunel of sexual abuse, stating that Maxwell directed her to various locations for sexual encounters with Brunel. The documents also indicate that Brunel exploited underage girls from less privileged backgrounds by promising them modeling opportunities, then bringing them to the US and farmed them out to his friends, especially Epstein. The documents state that Jane Doe 3 accused Epstein of trafficking her to Brunel, who was closely associated with Epstein during travel. She mentioned being coerced into witnessing Brunel, Maxwell, and Epstein sexually assaulting underage girls. Sjoberg testified about meeting American magician David Copperfield at one of Epstein's homes, noting their friendship. She also remembered seeing a girl at that gathering who appeared to be of high school age. Sjoberg mentioned that Copperfield asked her about girls being paid to recruit other girls, referring to Epstein and Maxwell's practice of hiring women as massage therapists. Former U.S. President Bill Clinton is referenced in the court documents. Although Sjoberg stated she didn't personally meet Clinton, she testified that Epstein mentioned Clinton likes them young, seemingly referring to girls. Giuffre previously mentioned a close relationship between Clinton and Epstein, but didn't accuse him of any illegal activity. Clinton has consistently denied any allegations of unlawful involvement and has maintained that he hadn't interacted with Epstein for several years, leading up to the financier's arrest.
Indeed, I did have a relationship with Ms. Lewinsky that was not appropriate. In fact, it was wrong. It constituted a critical lapse in judgment and a personal failure on my part, for which I am solely and completely responsible. I misled people, including even my wife. I deeply regret that.
Former President Donald Trump is mentioned in the documents, but isn't accused of any wrongdoing. Sjoberg recounted an incident when she, along with Epstein, Jeffrey, and others, flew from Palm Beach, Florida in 2001. Due to a storm preventing their New York landing, they diverted to Atlantic City and visited one of Trump's casinos. Since Jeffrey was underage at the time, Sjoberg was asked if she was allowed into the casino. I did not know anything about how old you had to be to gamble legally. I just knew she could not get in because of an ID issue, so she and I did not gamble. Sjoberg answered. Epstein mentioned the late physicist's name in an email sent to Maxwell in January 2015. In the email, Epstein instructed Maxwell to offer a reward to anyone among Jeffrey's contacts who could refute Jeffrey's allegations, including those involving Hawking. The strongest is the Clinton dinner and the new version in the Virgin Island that Stephen Hawking participated in sexual activities involving minors, the email said.
The Big Bang is like a black hole explosion, but on a much larger scale. By finding out how a black hole creates matter, we may discover how the Big Bang created all the matter in the universe. We rise above them and become masters of the universe.
The documents also mention a few prominent Hollywood figures, mostly in passing during Johanna Sjoberg's testimony. She was asked about encounters with guests at Epstein's residence, including Star Wars creator George Lucas, mentioned once, and actor Kevin Spacey, noted twice. However, Miss Sjoberg stated she doesn't recall meeting either man. Additionally, she couldn't recollect meeting British supermodel Naomi Campbell, mentioned once in the documents. Michael Jackson, the late king of pop, is also mentioned twice. When asked if she met any famous individuals while with Epstein, Sjoberg confirmed meeting Jackson.
Mr. Jackson, in the latter portion of 1993, there were some allegations leveled at you concerning improper conduct with some young boys. I assume you're familiar with the fact that those allegations were raised. Is that right?
Yes.
In fact, there was ultimately at least 2 grand jury inquiries into that I am currently aware of, although counsel tells me there may have been a third. Were you aware that grand jury investigations were conducted into those allegations?
Yes.
No one cares about movies anymore. No one goes to the cinema. No one really watches network TV. Everyone's watching Netflix. This show should just be me coming out going, well done, Netflix, you win everything. Good night. But no, we got to drag it out for 3 hours. You could binge watch the entire first season of Afterlife instead of watching this show. That's a show about a man who wants to kill himself because his wife dies of cancer. And it's still more fun than this, okay? Spoiler alert, season 2 is on the way. So in the end, he obviously didn't kill himself. Just like Jeffrey Epstein. Shut up! I know he's your friend, but I don't care. You had to make your own way here in your own plane, didn't you?